Hey, what's up, Michael? How you doing?
Hey, pretty good. How about you?
So we're here to talk to you about this new game you've made, Pillar, that's going to be on PlayStation Network, was it?
Yeah, PS4 and also Xbox 360 and PC as well.
Awesome, man. I took the time to sort of look up everything that I could about the game. I went on the Pillar website. It looks really well put together. Did you do all that yourself?
Yeah, it's pretty much a team of two. I mean, I did the website and the programming design, the music in the game, and all the art is done by my friend from Portugal. So, yeah, it's just us two doing all of it. So.
Cool. And you composed the music yourself. I was listening to it earlier today. It was very, very feng shui. I really felt like, taking a nap or getting a cheeseburger. Really laid back.
So the music, I want it to be kind of like calm because a lot of the gameplay in the game is puzzles, and there's some parts of the game where it's like really intense puzzles. So there's actually some earlier tracks I did that were kind of like upbeat and had like guitar solos and stuff. But what I found was when you're trying to like think and solve a puzzle, it doesn't work very well. It's actually really annoying. So I tried to make the music really laid back and pretty chill, and trying to make some music that felt kind of atmospheric and gave a good environment to think in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. If I'm going to be playing Sudoku, I'm not going to want, Megadeth in the background blaring, or else I'm going to throw the book across the room.
You there?
That's Dennis yelling. Say hi, Dennis.
Hey, this is Dennis. I'm also part of the show. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing really well. I just want to ask you a quick question. Just what inspired you to make it it's kind of it kind of made me feel like a different personality test kind of stuff this game is. So, what really went into the works of this to make you figure out different personality types of this stuff?
Well, it's a hard question to answer because it was kind of a bunch of different stuff. Partly it was kind of real life experiences, like dealing with people that I was close to and how our relationship kind of functioned, kind of inspired it. But also, I'm really big into psychology, so there's that Myers-Briggs, the MBTI personality assessment test, and that kind of inspired the game. I wouldn't say the game is a perfect representation of that test, but I kind of wanted to, pretty much what I wanted to do is take opposite personality types and kind of contrast them and show different people and how different people think and operate, and try to express that through the gameplay mechanics. So it's kind of a mixture, like I said, of the life experiences of real relationships I've had with people, and also the theory and psychology and so on. It's kind of a mashup of those two things.
Yeah, I had a feeling that you had something to do with psychology. So did you major in it? Did you study it, or is there personal passion for it, or something about it?
Yeah, no, I majored in computer science, but psychology has always been a big interest of mine ever since. Grade school, actually. I'm always reading psychology stuff. It just interests me. I guess I'm a people person, and I'm always trying to figure out why people behave and what causes them to act a certain way and so on. I just find all that stuff interesting. And so, when I was deciding to work on this game, it would be when it was pretty much my first major release. I wanted to make sure I had source material that was inspiring and, would kind of help me get through a long development process. Because if it was something I didn't really care about, then I probably wouldn't have finished the game, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
All right, for those of you just joining, this is Michael Hicks on the radio with us. He developed this entire game called Pillar. It's going to be on the PlayStation Network sometime soon. He also composed the music for it. Michael, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Oh, pretty good. Thanks for sticking with us, man. So talk a little more about the personalities of these characters. Talk about sort of how it all ties in with how you play the game. More about the personalities, the different types of personalities that you can play as too. Yeah.
So usually the first example I give people is the introverted characters, because I feel like that one's the easiest to kind of get across. But there are a couple of characters in the game who are introverted, and so an introvert loses energy when they're around other people. So kind of in those games, what you're doing is pretty much kind of avoiding people. You can be around them for a little bit, but your energy starts to drain. So it's pretty much what that boils down to is a stealth formula, essentially. I think you just think of it as a stealth game where you're kind of laying down traps to try and avoid the other people, but you can't really avoid them completely because you kind of need them to progress through the world. There's these doors that only they can open and so on. So that's probably the easiest one to get across. There's also extroverted characters, and they expand energy when interacting with others. And in that part of the game, there's two characters. and they're trying to also solve a puzzle, but they have to do it together. So what it kind of boils down to is one character will make a move, and that changes the board, and then the other character kind of has to respond to that based on how the first character made his or her move. So it's kind of like a conversation back and forth, and that's kind of where that metaphor comes in. So, I mean, that's kind of the gist of where I was when I said the gameplay mechanics are trying to express the personalities. I'm trying to not have any dialogue or anything like that, but have it purely be through the mechanics, if that makes sense.
That's cool. So what kind of video games have you been playing, do you think, that sort of inspired you to make this type of game, if there are any?
Yeah, well, I don't really like a lot of modern video games. I guess it's kind of weird that I make games. I actually kind of find my inspiration for this type of stuff from, there's a movie called Magnolia that came out back in 1999.
Oh, really?
And in that movie, there's like a bunch of different characters that made up kind of a bigger plot. So I feel like that's kind of where that part of the game came from, was that movie. I mean, of course, like, I'm inspired by some games. I don't feel, maybe the closest thing would be, there's this guy, his name's Jason Rohrer, and he made this game called Passage back in like 2008. And he was kind of like the first person to kind of like take gameplay and try to use it as like a metaphor or try to express some type of story or meaning from the gameplay. And I feel like if there was one person I could point to, it'd probably be his stuff, and also Braid by Jonathan Blow. That was also back in
John Blow.
2008, I think. So I'd say those two, Jason Rohrer stuff and Braid were probably the biggest game influences, but I don't really feel like this game is necessarily like those, if you know what I mean.
No,
But,
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that's, those people and the Magnolia movie were probably the biggest inspirations on the game. So
you had extroverts and introverts. You talked about them being in the game. I heard recently about this thing called an ambivert, which is sort of a hybrid of the two. Do you think you have anything like that featuring in the game, where it sort of trumps all the other characters at all? Or is it just the introvert and extrovert?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but no, there's not really anything like that in the game. But, I mean, that's probably, to be honest, that's probably more realistic. I feel like most people, they fall in between the two. I don't think there's really a pure introverted person. I consider myself to be an introverted person, but there's times where I really want to go out and, I get energy from being around others. I don't know. I think in reality we all kind of sway between the two, but for the gameplay purposes, I took, the extreme sides to kind of make a point, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, they'd be a little bit too powerful.
Hey, welcome back to the WPCD 88.7 with the show here. This is Dennis along with Stacy and Peter, and we're tuned in with actually, I feel kind of cool now, Michael Hicks, a game developer with The Pillar. How you doing, Michael?
Hey, pretty good, man.
All right, man. Hey, I'm not a big gamer myself, I used to have a PlayStation until my house got robbed, so you lost a customer there due to bad people out on the streets. But if I did have a PlayStation and I'm not much of a big gamer, describe me and kind of sell me on this game. I don't know what really much to do about this game.
Okay, so usually how I pitch the game to people is that it's a collection of mini games where each game represents a different type of personality we find in people. So in the last segment, we were talking a little bit about how there's introverted characters in the game, and it kind of boils down to like some stealth gameplay. Another example I could give is that there's characters who make plans. So like that part of the gameplay is very strategy-based, and then there's characters who are very spontaneous. There's kind of like a randomization factor thrown in for that person's gameplay. And the idea is to take all these personality tics and kind of express them through the gameplay mechanics. So that's pretty much like the quickest explanation I could give for what Pillar is about.
That is personally fine. That is totally fine. I totally get it after that quick, few second summary. What really is like captures my attention, is that it's kind of, focusing on psychology. Are you really judging me right now just for a few minutes of conversation we've been having? I mean, you're so far right now, you're sounding like you're pretty good in psychology.
Well, I mean, I like to think I am. I mean, people confuse me all the time. Like, I mean, I have relationships right now where people don't make any sense to me. But, I like to think I know what I'm talking about, I guess. I don't know. Humans are kind of a tricky subject, I guess. You know what I mean? It's not like a science.
I am a very mysterious
it's cool
man.
Stuff to think about, right? Like the Myers-Briggs test and all that. In theory, it's pretty cool to think about, but in reality, I find that people are, pretty confusing. So it's hard to know the truth.
I'm a very mysterious man. I'm going to confuse you very much. All right. So this is an indie game, from what my knowledge is. Yeah,
it's an independent game. So pretty much it's a team of two. I do the music, the programming, the design. And I have a friend from Portugal who did the artwork. So it's just us two.
Oh, that's cool. You have a friend in Portugal? That's pretty cool. Portuguese Cristiano Ronaldo, if you know who I'm talking about. I don't know. Mr. Hicks. Now, also, I'm not like I said, I'm not a big gamer, and for those who are listening are not big gamers, what's the difference of an indie and a mainstream game?
Usually the bigger games are made by like hundreds of people, and they have a huge budget, right? So they usually have the ability to make, a lot better 3D, cutting edge type things. And usually the indie games, since it's small teams of people, they use their creative freedom to try and take on more different and creative or innovative design ideas, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean,
so, both have their strengths and weaknesses, I feel like. So.
I think one of the first indie games was kind of like Super Mario. I mean, that's kind of like as basic as you can get.
Yeah, well, I mean, like back in the day, like those people who made the arcade games, they were pretty small teams of people as well. So, I mean, in a way, I guess you could say they were indie, I guess. So.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm pretty sure right now I would very much like your game. So if
thanks. I appreciate it.
I very much like. I would like your game because I know I like to trick people's minds. Oh, psychology.
Yeah, me too.
So this is Dennis. We just got done. Not got done. Well, we're here still with Michael, and we just want to say, Michael, thank you for listening, and also calling in and let us know more about your game. We're very happy. A local person is becoming huge in the video game.
You are gonna be a star, Michael.
You will be.
You're beautiful, and your game is beautiful, and don't let anybody tell you different, man.
Thanks. I appreciate you guys having me on. It was a good time.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks for calling. All right. This is WPCD. Michael Hicks with us from Pillar. Signing off! Ow!